Have you ever felt like life is just one endless chain of problems, those sleepless nights tossing and turning, replaying everything in your head? You blame yourself. You complain about the unfairness. You point fingers at circumstances. And then the next morning, nothing has changed. Except one thing: you're more drained, more exhausted, smaller than you were the night before. Here's the truth we don't like to admit: the real enemy is not the problem itself. The real enemy is letting the problem take over your mind, trapping you in a spiral of helplessness. Stoicism, a philosophy that has stood strong for over 2,000 years, reveals a truth both brutal and liberating. You cannot control the world out there. You cannot stop the storm. You cannot erase adversity. But you can always control one thing: your response. Pause for a second and think about that. You can't choose how others treat you. You can't choose when the storm hits or when failure knocks on your door. But you can choose how you face it. You can choose whether you collapse or whether you stay calm, stand tall, and move forward. This isn't just ancient wisdom. Modern neuroscience proves it. When you shift your focus from the problem to the solution, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical of motivation, control, and hope. Every small choice toward action is a step back to owning yourself. Let me paint you a picture. You're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. One choice: slam the wheel, curse at the cars, let anger ruin your whole morning. Another choice: take a deep breath, put on a podcast, and use that time to learn something new. Same event. Two reactions. Two completely different worlds. That's the essence of Stoicism. You don't control every event, but you always control your response. And that response will shape your life. In this video, I'll share with you 10 powerful Stoic practices, habits that will help you train self-control, break free from emotional chaos, and build a mind that is calm, clear, and disciplined. These aren't abstract ideas. They are practical tools that have guided millions from ancient Rome to the modern world through adversity without breaking. And if you've ever felt lost in chaos, if you've ever felt weak in the face of challenge, then stay with me. Because this moment right here, right now, could be the turning point where you reclaim the strength that has always been inside you. And if this message resonates with you, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment below, so together we can build a community that stands strong, unshakable in the storms of life. Habit 1. Own your life today. Habit number 1. Own your life today. This is the core habit, the foundation. If you master this, every other habit becomes 10 times stronger. But if you ignore it, the rest won't matter. It's this: take full responsibility for your life. Here's the trap most of us fall into: the cycle of blame. We fail and we blame our parents. We miss opportunities and we blame our boss, our company, the system. We struggle and we look at the world and say, "It's not fair. There's nothing I can do." And every time you say "because of them," you cut away your own power. You hand over control of your life to someone else. But Stoicism reminds us of a deeper truth. Responsibility is not the same as fault. It doesn't mean every misfortune is your doing. It means that from this moment on, you hold the power to choose your response. The past may be full of loss, injustice, pain. But right now, you decide how to react, how to move forward. That's where responsibility begins. Picture this: two people lose their jobs on the same day. The first spends weeks complaining, blaming the economy, the boss, the system. He sinks deeper into bitterness. The second feels the same pain, the same shock, but he takes a breath and asks, "What can I learn from this? What skill can I improve? What new doors can I open?" One choice leads to victimhood. The other leads to ownership. The question is, which one do you want to be? Modern science backs this up. When you shift from victim thinking to ownership, your brain literally rewires itself. Positive psychology studies show that taking responsibility activates a sense of control, reduces stress, and boosts problem solving. In other words, the moment you stop blaming and start owning, you don't just change your mindset, you change your biology. People often ask, what is true freedom? Freedom is not a life without struggle. Freedom is the ability to control your response. You can't choose the wind, but you can set your sail. You can't control the wave, but you can steer the oar. Every time you choose a conscious response, you step closer to inner freedom. Look at anyone who has overcome great adversity, leaders, entrepreneurs, or even ordinary people you know. They weren't saved by luck. They weren't waiting for rescue. They stood up, took responsibility, and rebuilt their lives. And that is my invitation to you. Stop asking, "Who did this to me?" Start asking, "What can I do from here?" Because the moment you claim responsibility is the moment you reclaim your freedom. Without this habit, the other 9 are just theory. But when you own your life today, every tool becomes a weapon in your hands. Remember this, you cannot control every event, but you can always control your response. And in that choice lies the power to rewrite your story. Habit 2, stay calm to stay clear. Habit number 2, stay calm to stay clear. Think about it. The biggest mistakes in life don't come from lack of knowledge. They come from the moments when emotions take the wheel. One angry word can destroy years of trust. One decision made in fear can cost you the opportunity of a lifetime. When life is calm, we think clearly. But the moment an emotional storm hits, reason gets clouded and regret soon follows. Calmness is power. But don't mistake it. Calmness does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. The Stoics never denied emotions. They faced them, they felt them fully, and then they learned to master them. Think of your body as a radar. Your heartbeat quickens. Your breath shortens. Your face heats up. That's a signal. And in that very moment, you have a choice. Be dragged away like a flood, or stop, breathe, and hand the wheel back to reason. True strength isn't the absence of anger, fear, or sadness. True strength is standing in the storm and asking, which response truly serves me, serves others, and serves this moment? Modern science calls this cognitive reappraisal, reframing the situation to change the outcome. But the Stoics were practicing it thousands of years before psychology gave it a name. For example, you're speaking in a meeting and someone cuts you off. Your first thought, they disrespected me. Anger flares. But if you pause, you might think, maybe they're just excited. I'll smile then, continue. Same event, 2 frames, 2 completely different futures. Or love rejected. Many people spiral into I'm worthless, but another frame is, this is my chance to find someone truly aligned with me. Same pain, but now it becomes a doorway instead of a dead end. Every time you remain calm, you lay another brick in the foundation of self-respect. Others begin to trust you because you can't be easily shaken. More importantly, you begin to trust yourself. You know that no matter how fierce the storm you are, no longer a slave to emotion. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The world may be chaos, but your response is always in your hands." Calmness means choosing solutions over problems. And when you learn to stay calm, you'll see that emotional storms aren't enemies. They are training grounds. They are the gym for your inner strength. Science agrees. Studies on emotional intelligence show that people who master their reactions build stronger careers, deeper relationships, and more stable mental health. In other words, calmness isn't just philosophy, it's a survival skill. So think back. The last time you lost your temper, did it really help? And the last time you stayed calm, didn't you handle things so much better? The answer is already in your own experience. From today, when emotions rise, treat them as an opportunity, a chance to practice, a chance to prove that you are not carried away by the waves, you are the one steering the ship. Calmness is not weakness. Calmness is power. Habit 3, pause before you react. Habit number 3, pause before you react. Have you ever received a harsh email from your boss or a colleague and instantly felt your face burn? Your hands shake ready to fire back word for word, and then after you hit send, all that's left is regret. We've all been there. One impulsive second, one emotional reaction, and the consequences can last days, weeks, even years. The mistake wasn't the event itself. The mistake was reacting too fast. The Stoics taught us a priceless lesson: create a pause between the event and your reaction. That pause is the bridge between what happens to you and how you choose to act. And that pause does 3 powerful things. First, it separates the event from the story in your head. An email is just an email. But without a pause, your mind spins a story. My boss hates me. My career is over. The pause cuts that false script. Second, it gives you perspective. You can step back and ask, if I respond this way, what happens? If I choose another way, will it be better? And third, it restores your freedom. You're no longer dragged around by emotion. You reclaim the power to choose your response. Neuroscience explains this clearly. Under stress, the brain often falls into what's called an amygdala hijack. The emotional brain takes over, pushing us into fight or flight mode. But in most modern situations, you don't need to fight. You don't need to run. What you need is reason, clarity, wisdom, and the pause. A single deep breath, one step back, is enough to bring control back to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that makes rational, wise decisions. Let's compare 2 people. The first gets that harsh email and reacts instantly. He fires back in anger. Conflict explodes. The relationship cracks. The second feels the same frustration but decides to wait 30 minutes. He goes for a walk, breathes, then comes back with a calm, thoughtful reply. The issue is resolved smoothly. Same event. 2 reactions. 2 very different lives. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment." That is the essence of the pause. The moment you take back control from emotion and hand it back to wisdom. The pause doesn't make you weak. The pause is the essence of self-control. It proves you're not a puppet of circumstance. You're the one steering your own ship. So next time emotions rise, try creating a beat of silence. Take a deep breath. Count to 5. Or simply step away from your desk for 1 minute. You'll be surprised how a single pause can change everything. Remember this: a rushed reaction focuses on the problem, but the pause focuses on the solution. And solutions are what lead you to a life of clarity, strength, and calm power. Habit 4. Catch yourself when thoughts loop. Habit number 4. Catch yourself when thoughts loop. Have you ever laid in bed after an argument, replaying every word, every detail like a broken record, stuck on repeat? You think, if only I had said this, if only I had reacted smarter. But the next morning, nothing has changed. The problem is still there, except now you're more drained, more exhausted, more defeated. This is the thought loop, a subtle trap of the mind. It tricks you into believing you're working, searching for answers. But really, you're just burning energy in a maze with no exit. The more you think, the more anxious you become. The more anxious you get, the more exhausted you feel. And the more exhausted you are, the less you can actually solve. The Stoics warned us about this over 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. The real problem isn't what happened. It's letting your mind spiral into a whirlpool with no way out." So how do you break free? 4 simple steps. Step 1. Recognize the signal. The moment you realize you've been turning the same thought over and over with no new insight, that's your cue to stop. Ask yourself, am I analyzing or just looping? Step 2. Write it down. When you put chaotic thoughts on paper, you separate them from your mind. The page becomes a mirror. It gives you distance, and distance brings clarity. Step 3. Ask a better question. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" try, "What can I do now?" The first question makes you a victim. The second makes you a creator. Step 4. Move your body. Mind and body are linked. Sit hunched, frowning, barely breathing, you lock yourself inside the loop. But stand up, walk, breathe deep, change your environment. Instantly, the spiral weakens. It's like opening a window in a suffocating room. Fresh air flows in. Picture 2 people after the same argument. The first replays it all night, sentence by sentence. By morning, he's exhausted. The problem remains. The second, just as emotional, grabs a pen and writes it all out. The storm empties onto the page. He adds, "Tomorrow I'll speak again, but calmer." One small act, but it breaks the loop and points the way forward. Modern science calls this rumination, mental replay on repeat. Research shows it fuels anxiety, depression, insomnia. But those who learn to spot the loop and cut it early have stronger resilience, better recovery, healthier minds. Here's the key. Every time you break free from the loop, you don't just solve a problem. You train an invisible power, the power to govern your own mind. And that power is the foundation of true inner freedom. So next time you feel stuck in the spin of overthinking, remember the 4 steps. Recognize, write, ask better, move. Simple, but life-changing. Because in the end, real strength isn't about avoiding every problem. It's about never letting your mind become a prison of its own making. Habit 5. Ask what truly helps right now. Habit number 5. Ask yourself what truly helps me right now. Notice this. When life gets tough, most of us fall into the same 3 traps. We complain. We imagine the worst. We think in circles for hours and get nowhere. We vent to our friends. Why is this happening to me? We build dark scenarios in our heads. What if I fail? What if they leave me? And then we sit there drained, anxious, paralyzed. But the Stoics gave us a tool sharp as a blade, simple as a breath. One question: what truly helps me right now? It sounds almost too simple, but that's its power. It pulls you out of the darkness of useless thought, back into the present, the only place you can act. Example: after an argument, many people replay every word for hours, even all night. They craft imaginary comebacks they wish they'd said. But if you pause and ask, what truly helps me right now, the answer might be, write down your feelings. Prepare a calmer way to speak tomorrow. That's action, not endless rumination. Another example: you're staring at a massive project. Your mind floods with fear. What if I miss the deadline? What if the client rejects it? You freeze. But if you ask what truly helps right now, the answer could be as small as open your laptop. Write the first 3 steps. It's tiny, but it's real progress. This question is an anchor. It keeps your mind from being swept away by emotional waves. It separates fake effort, complaining, worrying from real effort action that moves you forward. Complaining feels good for a moment, but changes nothing. Imagining disaster feels like preparation, but only makes fear grow bigger. Only action, any action however small, creates change. Science backs this up. Cognitive psychology shows that when you ask solution-focused questions, the brain shifts from anxiety mode into action mode. That switch releases dopamine, the chemical of motivation and control. One question can flip your entire state of mind. Now think back. How many hours of your life have you wasted worrying, imagining, complaining, when one small action could have solved half the problem? How many times did you stay trapped in why me instead of asking, what can I do right now? The Stoics never told us to run from emotions. They taught us emotions are data. But data only becomes strength when you act on it. And this question: what truly helps right now is the key. It transforms data into solutions. It pulls you back to the present. It opens the door to the next step. So next time you catch yourself complaining, imagining disaster, or spinning in endless thought, stop. Take a deep breath and ask, what truly helps me right now? Then do it immediately. Because in the end, it's not thoughts, it's not complaints, it's action that changes your life. Habit 6, replace complaints with action. Habit number 6, replace complaints with action. Have you noticed? Every time you complain, a little energy leaks out of you. At first, it's just a sigh, a few harmless words. But repeated again and again, it becomes a toxic habit. It drains your inner strength. By the end of the day, you're exhausted, not because life was too heavy, but because you weakened yourself with meaningless sighs. Complaints never solved a problem. It's like standing in front of a fire yelling, "Why is it burning? Why is this so terrible?" without ever grabbing a bucket of water. Worse, complaining locks you into victim thinking. You repeat in your head, "I can't change anything." And soon you live exactly what you keep telling yourself, powerless and resigned. Action is the opposite. Action, even the smallest step, is the spark that lights up the dark. Action gives you back ownership. And here's the best part. It doesn't have to be big. Trade every complaint for a simple act. Hate your boring job. Finish one unfinished email. Hate your messy room. Clear your desk for 5 minutes. Hate how hard losing weight feels. Put on your shoes and walk for 10. These tiny acts are like flipping on the light switch in a dark room. Instantly, things feel less overwhelming, and neuroscience proves it. Action triggers dopamine, the brain chemical of excitement, motivation, and control. Complaints give you a fleeting release, then bury you deeper in helplessness. Action gives you proof you can change things even in small ways. Picture two people in the same messy room. The first complains, "This is unbearable." He sits there looking around, sinking further into fatigue and frustration. The second also sees the mess. But instead of whining, he stands up, spends 5 minutes cleaning. Result A, brighter space, a lighter mood, and most importantly, the feeling of his own power. This is true not just in chores, but in life. One person says, "I'll never lose weight." He keeps eating recklessly, sinking deeper into despair. Another, facing the same struggle, chooses to walk 10 minutes a day. That tiny act grows into a habit. Month after month, his body transforms. But more than that, his belief in discipline and in himself comes alive again. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Don't just talk about change. Start with one small act." Every time you choose action over complaint, you're declaring to yourself, "I'm not a victim, I'm a creator." And repeat that declaration enough times, and you will change. From passive to disciplined, from helpless to confident, from fragile to unshakable. So next time a complaint rises to your lips, stop. Ask, "What can I do right now, however small, to improve this?" Then do it. Because in the end, it's not complaining. It's action that has the power to change your life. Habit 7. Act early. Before fear grows. Habit number 7. Act early before fear grows bigger. Fear rarely strikes like thunder. It doesn't explode out of nowhere. Most of the time, it starts small, a grain of sand in your mind, an unfinished task, an awkward conversation you keep avoiding, a doctor's appointment you don't want to make. At first, it's just a whisper, "I'll deal with it tomorrow." Then tomorrow becomes tomorrow again. And that tiny grain of sand grows into a giant boulder blocking your path. This is how fear works. It doesn't grow because reality changes. It grows because your mind feeds it day after day. Psychologists call it catastrophizing, the habit of blowing risks out of proportion, turning small obstacles into imagined disasters. Think about it. You have a presentation coming up. Day 1, just a little nervous. Day 3, I'll probably forget everything. 1 week later, you can already see yourself frozen on stage while the whole room laughs. Reality hasn't changed, but your mind has turned a little worry into a nightmare. Or take health. You feel tired. Nothing serious. "I'll be fine tomorrow." A week passes. A month passes. Now your mind whispers, "What if it's serious? What if it's too late?" And you suffer far more in imagination than in reality. Then finally you see the doctor, and the result is almost always lighter than the monster you built in your head. The Stoics knew this truth: fear doesn't live in the event. It lives in our interpretation of the event. The mind was built to protect us from danger. But too often it becomes the very thing that magnifies it. So what's the solution? Don't wait for fear to become a giant before you move. Act early and listen carefully. You don't need confidence before you act, because courage doesn't come first. Courage is born through action. The one who fears public speaking, he can start today by writing an outline. Tomorrow, practice 5 minutes in front of a mirror. The next day, rehearse with a friend. Each step slices a piece off that imagined monster. the one who avoids the doctor. He doesn't need to fix everything today. He just needs to make the call, pick up the phone, schedule the appointment. In that moment, control shifts back into his hands. Neuroscience backs this up. Action releases dopamine. It doesn't just feel good. It builds belief. It tells your brain, I can handle this. Action is the antidote to procrastination and fear. Think about your own life. The first time you started a new job. The first time you spoke to someone you deeply admired. You were nervous. You were shaky. But when you stepped forward, it wasn't nearly as bad as you imagined. And the more you acted, the stronger you became. So next time you hear fear whispering in your head, don't wait. Ask, what's the smallest step I can take right now? Then do it. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Because every small action is a brick in the foundation of courage. And when you make a habit of acting early, you don't just shrink fear. You send a message to yourself, I am the master, not a prisoner of my imagination. Habit 8. Keep moving even. If progress is slow. Habit number 8. Keep moving even if progress is slow. Have you ever started something new full of excitement, only to watch that fire fade after a few weeks? You hit the gym a handful of times, don't see results, and quit. You dive into a new language for a month, but when you're not fluent yet, you give up. Here's the truth. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence or talent. They fail because they lack patience. They give up during the hardest stage, the stage when nothing seems to be changing. The Stoics reminded us, no great thing is created suddenly. And they were right. Real progress is rarely loud. It's quiet. It's slow. It's almost invisible at first. Picture someone learning a new language. 15 minutes a day every day for a year, and the results are remarkable. But 5 hours a day for 1 week, then nothing that leads nowhere. The power isn't in short bursts, it's in steady repetition. Or take the body. For the first 3 months at the gym, you look in the mirror and see nothing. That's where most people quit. But keep going until month 6, and you'll notice the shift. Stay consistent for a year, and the transformation is undeniable. Progress lives in that silent stage when the seed is growing underground long before you see the sprout. Modern science calls this the compound effect. Small actions repeated daily accumulate into massive change over time, like a drop of water that carves stone. You may not see it today, but it's happening. So why do we quit so easily? Because we're obsessed with speed. We want results now. A strong body in weeks. A new skill mastered in days. But life doesn't work like that. Even nature doesn't work like that. A tree takes months to sprout. A child takes years to grow. So why do we believe we can transform overnight? Real success doesn't belong to the fastest. It belongs to the most consistent. Inspiration is the spark. Discipline is the flame that keeps you going when the spark fades. So ask yourself, who do you want to be? The kind of person chasing quick success, burning bright for a moment, then burning out? Or the kind of person who takes small steps every day so that a year from now, when you look back, you've gone farther than you ever imagined? The Stoics said, if it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Everything worthwhile takes time. It's not easy advice, but it's truth you need to hear. Remember, this slow progress is not failure. The only real failure is stopping. Every step, no matter how small, takes you closer to where you want to be. And if you keep walking one day, you'll look back and realize you've come farther than you thought possible. So next time you feel discouraged because things aren't moving fast enough, remind yourself, you're not standing still. You are moving forward. And as long as you don't stop, slow is still progress. Habit 9, focus on growth. Habit number 9, focus on growth. Have you noticed most of our daily energy doesn't turn into real progress? It gets scattered into little things. You wake up, grab your phone, scroll through social media, reply to messages, clean up a few random things, open your inbox, 50 notifications waiting. By the end of the day, you feel busy. You feel drained. But when you look back, nothing important has truly moved forward. This is the trap of distraction. It makes you confuse being busy with making progress. The Stoics taught, we cannot control everything, but we can always choose where to place our attention. And wherever attention goes, growth follows. So let's compare two people. The first spends the morning answering every email, every message, cleaning his desk, handling small stuff. He ends the day with an empty inbox, a tidy room, but the most important project is untouched. The second chooses differently. He dedicates his morning to 2 hours of deep work, finishing the strategy report, completing the key plan, solving the core issue. At the end of the day, not every email is answered, but real progress has been made. That is the power of focus. And this isn't just about work. It's about life. How many people say they have no time for family, for health, yet spend hours glued to a screen scrolling endlessly? On the other hand, 30 minutes walking with your child or one family dinner without phones, that's an investment into what truly matters. Science backs this up. The brain only has so much focus energy each day. Waste it on trivial things, and you'll have nothing left for what truly moves you forward. This is called the opportunity cost of attention. Every minute spent on the meaningless is a minute stolen from the meaningful. So look at your day. How much time have you spent on what truly pushes you forward? Your health, your career, your knowledge, your relationships. And how much have you wasted reacting to notifications, handling busy work, or scrolling through someone else's life? The Stoics believed growth doesn't come from doing everything. Growth comes from choosing the right things. When you dare to say no to distractions, you finally have the space to say yes to what matters. You can't do it all, but you can do what matters most. And if every day you complete one thing of true value 1 year from now, you'll be amazed at how far you've come. Remember, your energy is limited. Your attention is your most precious resource. Don't let the outside world pull the strings, scattering you in 100 directions. Be the one who chooses. Focus on what nurtures growth, not on what drains you. So starting today, ask yourself, what one thing, if I finish today, will make this day truly matter? Then pour your focus into it, because in the end, it's not busyness that brings strength, it's focus. And focus is what leads to true growth. Habit 10. Take responsibility for failure. Habit number 10. Take responsibility for failure. Here's a truth most people don't want to face. The first failure is never the real danger. The real danger lies in what you do after, because failure itself is just an event, but your response. That's what decides if you rise and go further or collapse and stop forever. Picture this. 2 people lose their jobs on the same day. The first reacts with anger. He complains about injustice, blames his boss, curses the company. That impulsive reaction doesn't just waste time, it drags him into a downward spiral, leaving him weaker, more bitter, more powerless. The second also feels pain. He also feels shock, but he takes a breath. He asks, "What did I learn from this job? What can I improve? What new door might open from here?" A small difference in reaction, but two lives split apart. One becomes a victim, the other becomes the architect of his future. That's the difference between a reaction and a response. Reaction is emotional impulsive. It's fast, explosive, but often destructive. Response is different. Response is when you pause, observe, and choose with reason and long-term vision. Response is harder, but it always leads to growth. The Stoics reminded us events lie outside your control, but your response is always in your hands. Failure doesn't destroy you. Complaining, quitting, and refusing responsibility after failure, that's what destroys you. Look at the downward spiral. Complaint breeds helplessness. Helplessness breeds more failure. More failure cements the belief I can't change anything. That is the spiral that devours willpower and hope. But there's also an upward spiral. You face failure. You extract a lesson. Lessons repeated become wisdom. Wisdom builds strength. Strength turns failure into a stepping stone. This is the spiral of those who take responsibility. Modern science calls this the growth mindset. People who believe failure is feedback, not a final verdict, become more resilient, more creative, more successful. But those who attach failure to their identity, "I am a failure," get trapped in helplessness. So which spiral will you choose? The downward spiral of complaint or the upward spiral of responsibility? Remember this: taking responsibility doesn't mean taking the blame. It doesn't mean every misfortune is your fault. It means you decide what happens next. The moment you take responsibility is the moment you reclaim power. So next time you stumble, don't ask, "Why did this happen to me?" Ask, "What can I learn here? What's my next step?" That question transforms you from victim to creator. The Stoics believed failure is a harsh but fair teacher. If you're willing to learn, it gives you wisdom and strength. If you run, it comes back again and again until you're ready to face it. So starting today, practice taking responsibility for your failures. Don't fear falling, don't fear mistakes. As long as you're willing to observe, to learn, and to move forward, every failure becomes a brick in the foundation of resilience and inner freedom. Because in the end, it's not failure that defines who you are. It's how you rise after failure that shapes the person you become. We've just walked through 10 Stoic practices. 10 habits, not just nice ideas, but real tools. Tools to build self-control, to keep your mind clear, to direct your strength toward solutions instead of problems. And if you noticed, all 10 revolve around one core principle: your true power doesn't lie in circumstances. It lies in your response to circumstances. You can't stop the storm, but you can learn to steer your ship. You can't control how others treat you, but you can always control how you respond. And it's that response, the one thing always in your hands, that shapes your life. The Stoics taught us a truth that may feel harsh, but is also deeply liberating. Responsibility is not a burden. Responsibility is power. Because the moment you take responsibility, you stop being a victim. You become the master. You stop saying, "because of them," and you start saying, "because I choose." That is where freedom begins. So think back. How many times have you handed over control of your life to someone else? How many times did a burst of emotion decide your future? How many times did complaining and blaming leave you feeling powerless? It's time to take that power back. It's time to say, I can't control everything, but I can always control my next step. And modern science agrees. People who train emotional self-control, who focus on action instead of excuses, they report higher happiness, stronger resilience, and more lasting success. In other words, Stoicism isn't just ancient philosophy. It's science-backed therapy for a stronger, calmer life. And remember, transformation doesn't start tomorrow. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It begins here, now, in the choice you're about to make, the choice to complain or to act, the choice to let emotions drag you or to stay calm, the choice to collapse in failure or to rise and grow stronger. So here's my final message for you. Focus on solutions, not problems. Build strength, not excuses. And most of all, never hand over control of your life to anyone or anything outside of you. Freedom doesn't mean a life without struggle. Freedom means struggle no longer owns you. Freedom doesn't mean no failure. Freedom means you rise from failure wiser and stronger than before. If you've made it to the end of this video, let this be your milestone, a new beginning. From today, choose mastery, not surrender. Choose action, not complaint. Choose focus, not distraction. Because in the end, your life is not decided by the storm outside. It is decided by how firmly you hold the wheel in the middle of it.